Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. So once again, the portal is alight with the lovely golden hue, meaning it's once again time to pull some Sacreds. And in fact, I haven't pulled some Sacreds in a while, at least since the last POGO event, but just in general, it's been a while since I've pulled a decent amount of Sacreds, because of course, during that POGO, we only had to pull one shard to get the champion, and we were preserving Mercy for months before that. So as you can see here, we have a decent amount of Sacreds. We'll come back to the shard count in a second here, but lots of Sacreds, so I'm willing to burn some for the sake of this 2x. Now, of course, we're not pulling without purpose. We're going to be pulling for the purposes of getting the rare and the epic from the champion chase. And so I did actually follow through on my initial plan when it comes to the fusion, in that I ended up skipping both of the summon rushes just because the milestones were a lot higher than I expected. There are 7 Sacreds worth each, meaning you have to pull a total of 14 Sacreds to get 2 rares. And I just made a bet that essentially I would be able to get, the rare or a rare and an epic, which is effectively 4 rares for within those same 14 Sacreds worst case scenario. So I do still think that will be the case, but nonetheless, here we are. These are the milestones, a little bit higher than I expected. I was expecting the epic to be at 5,000. It's up at 6,000, but again, still possible. 2,500 is lower than expected, which is kind of good. So that's a little bit more generous for people that aren't going this maxing approach, so to speak, of the champion chase. But yeah, our goal is going to be 6,000 points. But of course, we're not only going to be doing that with Sacreds. So let's start off with the free points that I want to redeem in this particular situation. And this is what I usually save a lot of my fragment summons and fusion stuff from, but we'll kick things off with the summon pool, because you never know, maybe we can get Varkos despite him being my selection on the Prick of Chance event here for the 2x Sacreds. Let's see if we can get him for free. No, we can't. Okay, that's fine. Well, we got Duck the Pierced. I think that's probably going to be empowerment for him, but nonetheless, 250 points in the bank. In terms of the fusion itself, I have amassed 8 of the rares so far, which means we can fuse 2 of the fusion epics and thus give ourselves another 500 points, i.e. 2 epics, 250 a pop. So there we go. We take that. We'd obviously need to level up the fusion epics to get the fusion done as well. So we'll be doing that because champion training is also live at the moment. So as of right now, we've gotten 3 epics so far. That is 750 points total so far in the champion chase. But we are not done with the air quotes free points. So I do have 1 Relic Keeper to summon up. So we're going to summon that one as well. So there we go. There is another 250 points, so we're at 1,000 points, 1/6 of the way there already. We haven't done a single shard pull, which is awesome. Don't think I have a Broadmaw. I do think, because I have struggled for some reason to get Justiciars from Void Shards as of recently. So we also do have, as a small bonus here, we're going to summon him. So we're going to summon a copy of the Void Rare that we're missing. So eventually this will be a Relic Keeper, but we're not going to worry about that one for this particular champion chase. But nonetheless, an extra 50 points for the Void Rare. So 1,000 and some change. And we are still not quite done. When it comes to the fragment summons, we've got Folan. The previous fusion saved him for the next champion chase, which is this one. So this is a 500 point addition to our score here. So 1,500 points in the champion chase. We'll take him. And yeah, like I said, I'll definitely be trying him out in some kind of budget PvE builds to kind of help with that. I may or may not book him. That's still to be determined. And since they helped us out by rearranging the requirements for getting Saoirse the Chard, I do have her now a lot earlier. Probably would have been another 3 to 5-ish months of slowly making my way up towards her. But they basically gave her for free. So we get to summon her as well. And I do plan to use her. She's actually going to be my next, or one, I guess they're both going to be next 6-star champions, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, so we get Saoirse the Chard as well. So 1,000 points for both of those legendaries, i.e. our grand total of air quotes free points is a whopping, as it should say, in the champion chase, 2,000 points. And of course, we also do have remnant summons if I really wanted to go super, super far into making this as free as possible. But like I said, my goal here was the overall, over the course of the entire fusion, I want to minimize the impact of using Sacreds. And so I feel like we've done that by getting a third of the way there from air quotes free sources. So now all we need to do is get 4,000 points from our Sacreds. Now, if we get the absolute worst odds possible, it would take us 16 Sacreds, meaning we will have gotten 16 epics in a row on a 2x, which would be really unfortunate, but is still not outside the realm of possibility. But that would be the absolute worst case scenario, meaning that this would have been a slightly more expensive fusion overall compared to just doing both the summon rushes. But again, there's a little bit of exchange of value there versus getting 14 Sacreds for getting 2 rares, and then up to 16 Sacreds to get 1 rare and an epic, which is effectively 4 rares. So 5 rares for the cost of a roughly equivalent cost to me. Again, feels worth it, which is why we're doing this in the first place. So hopping into the portal, let's talk about my overall shard count my account at the moment. 570 on the Ancients, 206 on the Voids, 43 on the Primals, and then a whopping 76 on the Sacreds, which of course we'll be dipping into today. As I mentioned earlier, Varkos is going to be my selection here for the Progressive Chance events. We don't really expect to get him in particular. The odds of getting him, if we get a legendary at all, is going to be around 4 to 5%, or yeah, 5% or so, which is very, very low, meaning that the odds are stacked against us just like they were with the summon pool itself. So I'm not getting my hopes up that even if we do get a legendary, it's going to be him. But nonetheless, if I have a chance to save on his presumably Hero's Path in the future, probably next weekend or 3 weeks from now, give or take, then hey, it's kind of a win. So if we get him early, we get him early. We get to skip out on whatever that future summoning and or soul summoning event will be. In terms of Mercy, this just highlights once again why it's a good opportunity for me in my particular situation to pull during 2x Sacreds, is because we are at 0. We're fresh off of the POGO event. I've not pulled a single Sacred since then, so we are at 0. So only good things can happen from here, which is a great place to be relative to a 2x Sacreds. And then last of all, who are we looking for if we happen to get legendary or multiple from our session today? Obviously, I would take Varkos like we mentioned, but my top 3 at the moment are Martyr, Sidax, and then Freya Fate Weaver. So those would be my top 3 outside of getting Varkos for this particular event. So without further ado, let's get right into the action. We've got just enough space. We've got plenty of cash, and hopefully we get some pretty decent luck. We are going to need some decent luck here. If we want to kind of match the Summon Rush cost, i.e. 14 Sacreds, we will need 2 legendaries from our set of however many Sacreds it's going to take. But again, absolute worst case is 16 Sacreds, which to me is still a good trade. So expect to see a lot of epics here. Trumbor, not much exciting to say about him. Unfortunately, I have tons of copies of this guy, and yeah, not excited to see him. But Sacred number 1 down. Sacred number 2, another epic. Once again, we're fresh off of Mercy, so getting epics is fair game. Yelagurna, nothing to say about her as well, unfortunately. Starting off with 2 dud epics. Of course, I should have mentioned that we, of course, because we are going to get a lot of epics along the way, some duplicate epics for empowerment wouldn't be terrible. But so far, we're getting a bunch of garbage ones that I never ever use, including Terror Beast. Unfortunately, another terrible epic champion. Granted, reflect damage is okay, but he's kind of, I feel like most people can easily progress past the need of reflect damage. Knight Errant, once again, continuing the streak of underwhelming epics, 4 in a row. Let's see if we can turn things around with Sacred number 5. First legendary of the day, and it is Granite Doorkeep, who I do have, of course, because he was a previous fusion, but we can't be too mad. 6 Sacreds in, we get our first legendary for the day. Or rather, 5 Sacreds in. My bad, I miscounted there. 5 Sacreds in, and we get our first legendary for the day. But yeah, I've heard good things about him. I eventually did build mine out, put him in some decent gear, nothing like crazy, no savage or anything like that, but he's okay. He's, you know, a bit of a nuker here. He can ignore some stone skin if the conditions are right. He can be an AoE debuffer. He's great for like Hydra teams if you're really struggling to have a debuffer as well as a block buffs champion, increase accuracy on your team. Really solid in that regard, and a good decent amount of damage on the A1. I haven't personally, again, used him like fully built out for stuff, but I use him as needed in PvE content, specifically in the Curse City comes to mind, just because he's, again, a solid debuffer for that content. But we'll take it. Dwarf Faction Guardians, that might be 4 out of 10, or that might be 6 out of 10. Not exactly sure which. But more importantly, that is our first legendary of the day. So again, if we can get 2 legendaries from this session, then we have effectively equated the amount of Sacreds we would have spent for chasing down the Summon Rushes, which is a good deal and a good trade overall. Again, 2 rares for the sake of 5 instead, effectively. So, Allure, still the queen of single target turn meter encounters with the 75% turn meter drop on the A1. Super strong. I still run her in my Dark Fae team as well as my Scarab King teams from way long ago. Skull Crusher, now we're kind of turning it around. We got some good epics. AoE counterattack on everyone but himself, so good, progression early game champion to have to help you get deeper into Demon Lord Clan Boss, push towards Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare if you pull them early enough, of course. Next up, we have Lodric Falconheart. Speaking of Scarab King, kind of one of the older champions who has a shield that matches the cooldown, 2-turn duration, 2-turn cooldown. But, that only works if you run, I guess, you run him alongside Allure, who we just pulled earlier. You can run him in that type of composition, but, Miscreated Monster can work as well, and there's plenty of other ways to get around Scarab King. But nonetheless, if you're in a pinch, he can definitely, he can work in that type of team. Sepulcher, Sentinel, decent champion, decrease attack, kind of old school clan boss, Demon Lord. Thoughts here with the block debuffs, increased defense, and then her passive can mitigate some damage here and there, but she's relatively speaking outdated, and unfortunately they don't really buff epics anymore, so not that exciting. It's legendary number 2, and it is Mighty Uko. Okay, another duplicate champion, but again, we'll take it. Faction Guardians, we're filling him up. No Varkos, unfortunately, so we have the 25x now for him, which I think brings us up to like an 8% chance, so we didn't really move the needle all that far, but decent champion. I've always had mixed feelings on Mighty Uko. I do love his kit. I love the AoE attack, or the AoE decrease attack on the A1. I do love the A2 double buff strip or double attack buff strip with block buffs. Decrease actually really good, but it's also kind of weak in Hydra because, you know, Poison Cloud and other things cannot and Serpent's Will can't be removed, and meaning he's kind of subpar, so to speak, in those encounters, but nonetheless he's still decent. I don't like revives that can be wasted on auto, especially when no one is dead, meaning that he's not a reliable reviver. And also he's, for some reason, he's like one of the squishiest revivers in the game, or squishiest supports in the game, so it's really hard to keep him alive in a lot of PvE content, even though he's a reviver. Unless you build him really tanky in regen gear, maybe he might stay alive. But yeah, cool passive, can steal some buffs here and there. But yeah, not much else to say about him. So we are 10 sacreds deep. There you go. Now you guys can see it by my head. We're at 66. We started off at 76, meaning that we still have 4 more sacreds to go. In fact, we can just double check my math here. In the champion chase, we should be essentially at 5,000, well, 5,000 and some change, but we still have 1,000 points. We should have 1,000 points to go, i.e. up to 4 sacreds depending upon RNG. Yep, there we go, 5,100. It has definitely updated. So worst case, we pull 4 more sacreds. If we get another legendary, that shaves off 1. So let's keep it going here and see if we can make some magic happen. Can we go for the trifecta? Oh baby, a triple today. Masked Fearmonger, definitely not a legendary, and a definitely garbage epic. Nothing to say about him. Up to 3 more to go. Husk, a very solid Hydra progression champion. I used to use him for the longest time. He eventually made it out of my team. It was probably last year or something like that, once I got a few upgrades. But Provoke on the A1, good for the Head of Decay, especially after the rework to how provoking champions target the Head of Decay or prioritize it when it's alive. And then enemy max HP hit, which is decent again. Thinking Hydra. Thoughts? 2 more, or up to 2 more to go. Can we get a legendary and close it out on a clean streak? Yes, we can. Awesome. And it is a Nethril, another duplicate champion. But this is also somewhat good news. I think that means we can replace my second pair of Rhoduses as Faction Guardians with a Nethril pair, and then we might be able to empower my Rhodus to +3, which should be relatively exciting here. So yeah, Nethril probably in the market for a buff. He's got a poison on the A1 triple hitter, which is meh. AoE stun, which is decent. Decreased speed as well. And then he has decreased turn meter AoE on a 4-turn cooldown. Just a really outdated kit. Longer cooldowns. Just not the longer cooldowns. Both of these are 4 turns. He just needs a modern touch to be brought up into the current day and age. But hey, we'll take it. 3 legendaries. We did end up walking away with a triple, which is better than I expected. Our mercy is exactly where we started, so we're back at 0, which I guess is also kind of a bonus. We have 3 shots, or had 3 shots at Varkos. We didn't hit him on any of them, but again, the odds of that were relatively slim. It was again roughly 6%, 7%, 8%, somewhere around there. So really low odds, and obviously that didn't happen, but we'll definitely take it. Champion chase complete, and we spent a grand total of 13 sacreds, meaning we definitely beat the house on this one. So we did less sacreds than it would have cost to do both of these summon rushes, and we got a lot more effective rares for the same amount of shards, which is for less than the same amount of shards, which is really solid. So there we go. We claim the epic legendary tome. We got some relic fragments, chicken, the rare, and then some extra gems. So super solid. Now, this is a rare instance for me. I usually don't go for the epics in these fusions when they're offered up because they're usually a lot more expensive. But this case, the math kind of worked out that this was definitely the better deal, as we've seen here, especially with all of the air quotes free points that I had amassed thus far. But nonetheless, that also kind of changes how I plan to wrap up the fusion. So I already mentioned I skipped both of the summon rushes, so I'm already missing 2 rares. I'm electing, just strategically speaking, just to apportion my energy in a easier way. I'm skipping this Fire Knight tournament, so I'm not running Fire Knight at all, but I will be skipping the Dungeon Divers 2. So basically I get to coast throughout the rest of the fusion. I'm focusing on champion training until that's done, so I only have to spend my energy in one place. I finished out the event dungeon tournament. That is of course where we got the air quotes free prism fragment shard summon. And so basically I just need to focus the champion training event, which we can see here. I need the 2 rares from this one, so 1 and 2, and then I'll need the last rare from Ice Golem, which starts after the champion training ends, so I can focus entirely on champion training for the next few days. And and then switch over to Ice Golem and wrap up the fusion. And my numbers in terms of metrics should be really, really good for how much resources we saved on this particular fusion, having only to have done one Dungeon Divers in the end. So as we wrap things up here, let's clear out, let's, I guess, check the red dots in the index here. Of course, these are going to be the new champions that we added to our account, not the ones we pulled. So Saoirse the Chard is joining the team. Can't wait to use her. I want to test her out in the Nether Spider specifically, and this is the perfect rotation for that. Oh, apparently we got Fallen. How did I forget Fallen? There we go. Fallen as well from the Sylvan Watchers. And then Argonite should be the epic, of course, because we summoned her for the first time today. No idea what she does, but it doesn't really matter because she will be sacrificed for the sake of these terrible fusions. So there we go. That's the red dots in the index. And then Faction Guardians, I do believe, yes, indeed. Skinwalkers is now 10 out of 10, so we'll take it. Mighty Uko gets to complete the set. I probably need to double check. I don't think I have any Skinwalkers in any speed-tuned teams, but I will double check that later just to make sure we don't break anything. Who else did we get? It was Nethril and Granite. Okay. Oh, we were at 6 out of 10. Okay, so that's 8 out of 10 for dwarves. Hey, honestly, cannot complain. 3 legendaries is one reason we can't complain, but also 3 progressions into Faction Guardians, which is really, really good. So there's my +2 Rotos. We did that empowerment last time. We get to free up Rotos 3 here. And we put in the Nethrils, and then we can call it there. So we preserve our speed for Siphi and Rotos, I guess, effectively. And now I do have another spare Rotos that I could empower. I don't know if it's worth it to just take him to +3 right now, per se. Just because it gives me, I mean, it gives him, you know, good stats, HP, attack, but we don't get the speed or the crit rate. So I'll think about it and decide if I really want to do this, you know, right now, immediately, so to speak, or if I want to wait until, who knows how long it's going to take, but wait until I get another, a 4th copy, or if I guess a 5th copy of Rotos. That way we can fully empower my Rotos to +4. That would be my first ever +4. He's also, I mean, he is my first empowerment in general, but he would also be my first +4 in that regard, if we can pull that off. All right, so there you have it. That is going to do it for today's shard pulling session. I definitely cannot complain. We got really, really good rates. 3 legendaries in 13 sacreds for a grand total of 5 legendaries for the day, all of which, or 2 of which were new because they were fragment summons or farmable-esque champions, and then 3 duplicates, who all of which were beneficial Faction Guardian slots in some way or shape or form. So once again, cannot complain. Great odds, great turnout. We didn't get anything from the wish list. We didn't get Varkos, but you know, Varkos should be guaranteed again within the next month or so. So I'm not really worried about that. We'll just have to spend resources again when that time comes around. And there will be plenty of more future, you know, summoning events where we can shoot our shot for anyone else or all the other champions that are on my wish list. Let me know in the comment section down below what your plan was relative to the summoning events for the fusion overall. If you're doing the fusion, that is, or going or swapping her for someone who is more useful. Were you also skipping the summon rushes and focusing the champion chase, or were you doing it in the reverse order? And of course, what did you get from your summons if you're also pulling during 2x sacreds during this champion chase? As always, if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel, and feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on this channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.